Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of AI Tourism Talks. My name is Ivan Ivanovic, and I help travel tech companies and tourism brands use AI and smart content to get more bookings and B2B leads. Today's topic is really huge, I would say, reinventing hotel distribution in the age of AI. Hotel distribution is changing fast. AI voice assistants and agentic systems are starting to reshape how hotels attract, convert, and keep guests. Most teams see the buzz, but very few have a clear picture of what this actually means for sales, profit, and daily work. That's why I'm really happy to have today's guest with me, someone with deep experience on both sides, so to say, the hotel and travel tech side. My guest is Mr. Ashwin Kamlani. Hopefully, I am pronouncing the name well.
Pretty good.
Ashwin pioneered the e-commerce strategy at Meliá Hotels and Resorts, then went on building several companies helping hotels and restaurants increase direct business and profitability. Today, he is building new distribution channels for the travel industry with voice AI and agentic commerce. And he also invests in foundational AI companies like OpenAI, Perplexity, and Anthropic, which is awesome, by the way. Ashwin, thank you for joining me today and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
Excellent. So before we dive in, just a quick note for the attendees. Just leave your comment from where you are attending the live, or which country, which city, and of course you can also leave what kind of role you have in the travel, tourism, or tech side if you are coming from this side. Okay, we have somebody already.
Nice.
My name Emmanuel. Yes. We will see other people. So you can also drop questions in the meantime for Ashwin at any time during the session, and in the end we will pick a few of them for Ashwin to answer them at the end of the session. We will keep everything really and very practical. We want you to leave with a clear view of what AI is really changing in hotel distribution, and what you can do actually in the following 12 or 24 months. So let's start. Ashwin, for people who might not know you yet, can you share a few information about you, your path from hotel e-commerce into building and investing in AI-driven travel tech?
Yeah. So I started my career in tech with Accenture and PricewaterhouseCoopers, but I was in one of these typical entry-level consulting roles. And so I was thrown into many different verticals, like pharmaceuticals and electronics, banking, and I didn't really like any of them. So at some point I decided I needed to wake up and be passionate about whatever industry I was working in. And I have some hotels in my family. My grandfather started the first five-star hotel in India. And so, I don't know, I always had exposure to it from a young age, and I realized that I would really be happy if I worked in hospitality and travel. I also had a lot of personal experiences that helped me grow personally and professionally from travel. And so I decided this is really where I wanted to focus. So I went to Cornell University and did my master's program there, where I learned all about hotel business. And I guess I was able to combine that education with my tech background. And I got an internship with Meliá Hotels, partly because I spoke Spanish. In high school, I did an exchange program to Spain and learned how to speak. So I was able to combine all three of these things and get this internship. And it was right after September 11th. So quite a chaotic time in the industry, but also right when companies like Expedia and Travelocity were really just getting started and growing. So it was perfect timing for me because I was able to come into a new company that wasn't quite familiar with e-commerce and all of the opportunities that it presented. And I was able to tell them, hey, there are these new distribution channels and let's sign some contracts. And, then the bookings started to come in. And I felt like they thought I was some kind of genius, but the truth is I wasn't. It was just being at the right place and the right time, and I just signed a few contracts, and the OTAs were quite strong already by then. This was, I don't know, 2001. So I eventually got a job there as the director of e-commerce for North and South America. I was able to, I was paid to go travel around to these gorgeous resorts all over Mexico and the Caribbean and teach them about
Amazing.
e-commerce and what were these OTA things, how to use the extranets back then, and it was great. That was the best job I ever had. And it was nice because it was all new. And so even though I didn't know much, I knew more than everybody else. So it was great. After a few years, though, I started to realize that, hey, it's quite expensive to do business with these companies. Yeah, I saw these reservations coming in sometimes at an all-inclusive for $10,000, and we were paying them 2,500 or 3,000 if it was a package. And I was like, wow, that's a lot of money, So, you know, I started to discuss this with some other hotel companies and realized that there was this movement growing in the industry to maybe not depend so much on these expensive third-party channels and maybe strengthen our own direct channels. And so I started talking to the head office in Mallorca. Hey, I think we need to build a US version of our website, maybe a Canadian version, and maybe one for Mexico. Let's really go after these markets. Let's build a website for each brand instead of just having the umbrella company. So if somebody wants to look for the Paradisus Resort in Cancun, they can go to a website with that name and not just go to, back then, solmelia.com. No American is going to know that Paradisus is part of solmelia.com. So we did a lot of things and it worked. We grew the direct business quite strong. Eventually, I was promoted to go run e-commerce globally in Spain, which was fantastic. It was my dream to go to Mallorca and work there. And so after many years of doing this, I realized that I had learned all about e-commerce in the hotel and travel industry, digital marketing, loyalty, call centers, revenue management, all of the components that are required to strengthen your direct business, right? And I realized there are probably other hotel companies out there that would love to do this. So how can I help them? So I decided to start a company called Regatta Travel Solutions in 2010, and we built a booking engine for hotel websites. And the main purpose was to encourage the consumer to book directly. So we gave them options and flexibility that they couldn't even find on Booking.com and Expedia. And we were able to achieve very good conversion rates with our engine. In fact, we started to become the official booking engine on many destination websites. We powered Visit Barbados, Visit Seattle, Daytona Beach, about 40 destinations in total. And it was sort of like a private label OTA, but we tried to send those reservations directly to the hotel. So very interesting business. We sold it in 2016 to a loyalty firm. I worked for them for about 5 years. And as you said, Ivan, I then was asked to come help build a company in the restaurant space, because after COVID, restaurants were forced to adopt technology the way hotels were after September 11th. So between September 11th and COVID, restaurants kind of resisted the technology. They still wrote the names down and people would come eat and leave and the restaurant had no idea who they were. But after COVID, it was like, oh, now I need a website. I need to digital ordering. I need an app. And now I have to work with these third parties. And I have all these, not extranets, but tablets to deal with for Uber Eats or DoorDash or Deliveroo, or depending on what part of the world you live in. So I thought, okay, I can probably help them navigate this. And so we built a dynamic pricing engine that helped restaurants figure out exactly the right price to charge for each item per hour in the delivery channels. And this worked pretty well. And about a year ago, I started to see the impact that AI was going to have on hospitality and travel, and I started Hyperfunnel to try to solve that problem. So here we are today.
I can tell you amazing story. This is amazing story. It's also connected with me in a way because I'm also coming from third generation of entrepreneur in my family in hospitality, moreover in restaurants. So with my grandfather, father, and me, I was raised in that spirit. I was also involved in those endeavors since I was a kid. Yeah, I didn't know that about you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. So let's continue with the questions. When you look at hotel distribution today, what feels the most broken or outdated to you?
Well, unfortunately, the reason I started Regatta back in 2010 was because I felt like the existing technology that hotels were using to capture consumers and process reservations, or even on the loyalty side of the business, were outdated. That's why I started the company, because I felt like the industry needed more agile, more intelligent, more conversion friendly technology solutions. And today, to answer your question, when I look out there, there are some new up and coming players, but it's still quite antiquated, you know? The way we have asked consumers to find travel options and book travel options, ultimately it's like a dynamic brochure. You know, when the internet started and hotels were like, oh, what's this e-commerce thing? Oh, I need a website. Well, let me take my brochure and I'll scan it and I'll put it online. Okay, great, check, I have a website. So, but okay, luckily we've evolved from that, but how much have we actually evolved? I'm not so sure, because you come to a website, you have these static, menu options. Maybe you have FAQs, and the FAQs are quite often questions that most people ask. But this is hospitality, right? What if I have a specific question that's not in the FAQs? You should be able to answer my question, right? So this is one of the things that I'm not sure if it's broken, but I would say that we were limited until recently by what technology allowed us to do. We had to make our websites user friendly. We had to keep it organized. We had to think about, how people could navigate and easily find what they wanted, because it was just a dynamic brochure. So you couldn't possibly put all your information in there because it would be completely overwhelming, right? Well, guess what? AI is here. So yeah, I mean, look, I think some of the systems are still quite antiquated. I still think we ask consumers to think about travel and book in a way that's really not how we think. When I decide, oh, I want to go on vacation, I don't think, oh, how many people am I traveling with and what's my check-in date and checkout date? That's like the last thing I'm thinking about. I have many questions first to try to figure out where I want to go. So I don't know. I feel like we need to now evolve the process to more how humans think and how we want to look and discover travel.
Absolutely. We know one person together, Miss Victoria Ludeman. You were a guest of hers, and we were mutual guests both. And she said a really interesting thing, and that is usually people put FAQs, frequently answered questions, and she said frequently unanswered questions.
Right.
That's what we should put on our websites or whatever. Okay, let's continue. In your experience, what are the biggest distribution and sales challenges you hear from hotels and hospitality leaders right now?
Well, unfortunately, this story has not changed much. I think hotels are still struggling to capture more direct business. They want ownership of the customer, and not only ownership of the customer, but ownership of the customer experience, right? Because again, this is hospitality. So recently, I wrote an article that implied that the way distribution has evolved, it's turned hotels into a vending machine. It's like, oh, I need a room. Well, I just punch a bunch of buttons and it spits out a reservation, and it almost doesn't even matter which hotel it is. I get a bed, I get a whatever. Hopefully there's a plug next to the bed where I can charge, but sometimes even that doesn't happen. But you see these posts on LinkedIn where somebody's like, hey, which brand of hotel room am I in? And nobody has any idea, right? Because they all look the same. Not all, but some of them look the same.
Yeah.
The problem is that the way distribution has evolved and the way e-commerce has evolved, the experience is uniform. It's like you go to Expedia, and I just maybe you search for a certain hotel in Google, and you click on a link to go to Expedia, and you land there, and they don't even have that hotel. They're just bidding on the name so that you can get there, and then you choose something else. They don't care which one you choose as long as they get the commission, right? And that
That's
tells
for
you
sure.
something. That tells you how this is just a product. It could be a bag of chips. It doesn't matter. Right? There's a customer demand. We have a vending machine that sells that. Maybe I don't have the one you want, but I'll have something you want. So this is a problem, and this is the biggest challenge that we need to overcome. And again, I mean, I know we're going to get to this, but I do feel like AI brings a lot of opportunity, and this is one of them. Becoming really bringing hospitality back to the beginning of the process as soon as you start thinking that you want to go somewhere.
Yeah, in tourism and hospitality, we should work, and we work actually in so-called experience industry, right? And there is, I cannot remember the name of the author. There is a book, Experience Economy, and that's it. We should provide experience to the people, and it's really simple, actually. Yeah, if you agree. So what can you say about what has changed in guest behavior? Because this is related to the previous question. What has changed in guest behavior and guest behavior and expectations that the old systems can handle well?
I would even take that a step further. I think guest expectations and behavior is changing now in real time, right? And that's because the technology, the change in technology has accelerated so quickly over the last year. And the rate of adoption, as we know, every time something new comes, the rate of adoption keeps increasing and increasing. And now it's ours. ChatGPT comes out and says that they've launched some new thing, and everyone can't wait to try it. So it's like expectations are increasing drastically and very quickly. People want a conversation. People want answers. They don't want frequently asked questions. They want every question answered instantly. And I think people want more personalization. I think they want things to be a lot easier. Don't send me, to click around 20 times to find something I need. Just give it to me. Like, why not? That's how the world is supposed to work today. I should be able to ask Siri and get the answer I want, right? So I don't know. I think that's the change in consumer behavior that I think the industry is going to have to respond to. And we, as the travel and hospitality industry, have an obligation to be the best at that. We shouldn't lag behind like we usually do with this. We should be the pioneers in hospitality when it comes to the customer experience.
This is an interesting point that you have now said. I have another question, but before that, you said that we should be, of course, on the top of the changes. But I had other guests, really experienced, travel and tourism experts from like really old age, so to say, of hospitality. And I agree with this attitude, and that is they took. I mean, that they like big tech companies. They took tourism and travel, especially as an example for implementing AI, especially now with LLMs and other tools. They say there are more than 60,000 AI tools now on the market, but nevertheless. since I'm also coming, my formal education is in tourism and hospitality. I mean, we used to learn during my studies, it is the most complex industry ever in the human kind, in the human civilization, right? With more than 20 plus industries involved within. So it's really hard to implement any kind of changes, especially new tech or something like that in the industry, in the tourism. What is your take on this? Because majority of people, as I know, in travel and tourism are middle-aged or elderly people with great experience working with humans, which is the base of travel and tourism, but not the best for implementing travel tech solutions. What is your take on this?
I think that AI is going to have the most impact on the most complex industries. And that's really the beauty of AI, because it can handle so much complexity and so much data, even multiple disjointed data that doesn't look similar or hasn't been cleaned up. Like, these are the things that AI is good at, right? So in my opinion, there's an opportunity for travel to really embrace AI and figure out how to make what has been traditionally a painful search and purchase process for the consumer and make it much, much easier. But I hear what you're saying, that there are so many different stakeholders and different components of the industry. And so traditionally it has been difficult to implement change. I think that's going to change. And I know people have been saying that for a long time. Even when e-commerce started 20, 25 years ago, people said that. But I really do think this is different. Look, the fact that a startup can build something now with AI so quickly and with relatively little capital and resources, I think that's going to radically change this industry. And people can take multiple components that have been around forever and are legacy systems and disjointed and don't talk to each other, and literally build something that replaces 10 of them because of how scalable and affordable it is now to build with AI. So I don't know. I would be worried if I was a system in the travel space and I'm considered a legacy system and I'm not doing enough to reinvent or rebuild or make things easier from a connectivity perspective. I would be worried.
Yeah, for sure. They said this is the biggest change from the 18th century, right? From the first shift.
I agree.
Yeah, and also Mr. Naval Ravikant said that he expects, who is like the biggest philosopher of changes and business, and not only a philosopher, he is also a practitioner. But he said he expects that we have now around 8 billion people on the planet, and he expects soon that we will have, not literally, but in a sense, 8 billion entrepreneurs. It's a really interesting statement, due to the AI and possibilities. So if you had to describe the current momentum in hotel distribution, moreover, in one sentence, what would it be, this one sentence or couple of them?
It seems to me that we are in a phase of preparation and learning, okay? There's a lot of hype right now about LLMs, ChatGPT, how that's going to change distribution. I think there's some fear around the fact that Expedia and Booking.com had an early move there, which is understandable, okay? But I think it's smart of the industry to be aware and to be learning and maybe to even experiment a little bit. But we're not quite at the point yet where, at least on the LLM side of the business, there can be any significant change in distribution. However, I do feel that there is a massive opportunity now to use AI to improve our own channels, hotel websites, etc., and even in other places. But I do feel that hotels should be looking at that because, as you said earlier, consumer behavior is changing already. It's not like it's going to happen a year from now. People, you don't go into Google and type I don't know, Barcelona hotels anymore. Now you go to ChatGPT and you say, I have €1,000. I want to go away for the weekend. I have 2 kids. They're these ages. We love this type of food. We're going to see this show. Where should I stay? And you don't want to. I mean, it's a new behavior, right? And you again, you want to have a conversation, and you expect a response back that takes into consideration everything you said, and that gives you exactly the relevant response to that. So I think if you're not thinking about how you should be doing that on your website or your app, then you're falling behind.
Absolutely. This is also related. Now we will go to AI mostly. So how is voice AI changing the way guests search, book, and interact with hotels? You already mentioned this, but
Yeah,
let's be specific.
this is something that's quite new. I wouldn't say that it's changing anything yet, but it will. I believe that it will in a massive way. I mean, that's Hyperfunnel, and we've made a big bet on the accelerating adoption of voice AI in many aspects of hotels and travel. So, look, I observe my kids. I have 2 daughters. They're 13 and 14 years old. They don't type. They don't type anything. They have to write a paper for school. They're speaking it into the computer. And we've seen consumers speaking with Alexa or speaking with Siri, although that's been quite limited because the responses until now have been not great, right? ChatGPT is going to change that. I believe, as I said, we're giving it lots of detail. You don't want to type all of that. You want to speak it. And ChatGPT now has a voice. You can customize the voice in ChatGPT, and it can speak back to you, and you can literally put in your AirPods and have a conversation. So what do I think? Where do I think that's going? I believe that we are each going to be training our own personal AI assistants that will know our preferences, which credit cards we have, our loyalty programs, when my anniversary is, all of those things, so that when I say, "Hey, I need to go to New York next weekend," it already knows probably why I'm going, what my price range is going to be, all of those types of things, so I don't have to tell it. Um, to specifically to your question, I think that voice is going to take a lot of the friction out of the travel and hotel inspiration, comparison, and booking process.
Yeah, great. I have one anecdote from my real life due to this voice communication with LLMs. And of course, this is my usual workflow now for over a year. But when I started this, I have 2 kids also, 2 boys. They're a little bit, one is older, 17, one is 9. And they're, of course, using this type of workflows. But when I started to work with LLMs and build my systems, I started heavily, and now they are all used to it. But my dear wife, who is an artist and a designer, and etc. She's not a tech person at all. She understands tech, but she's not in tech, so to say. And except, like, I don't know, Adobe programs, for example. And when I started to do that, and especially when I started to leverage, AI voice via ChatGPT, particularly, I had a women voice, right, answering to me at the beginning. I was sitting in another room, chatting and everything. She asked, "But who is this lady, you are talking to?" It was really, really, really funny, and of course, it was a joke. It was a joke from her side, but
Okay. Yeah, but maybe look, we're building with 11 Labs. We just received a grant for a year, to really build with them because they like the project that we're working on. It is scary how realistic these voices are getting, and
Yeah.
not just the tone, but the expressions, the laughter, it really sounds like a real person. And that's interesting from many, like we could talk about this for a long time. What are the implications of this? But let's just stick to travel, right? I mean, in a way, I feel like the innovation here, ironically, is that we're taking the consumer back 30 years in time, when you would sit at a table across from a human being and you would say, hey, I want to go away. Here's my budget. We want to go somewhere sunny. You already know my family. Where should we go this year, right? And you would be presented with options, and then you could choose to explore one and maybe discard that and go to another one. That's the way we think as people. That's the type of search and comparison and discovery and booking process that's how we think. So it's not 2 adults, 2 children, arrival date, checkout date, and now give me 1,000 options I have to filter through. And if I say, I want an indoor pool, well, you don't have that in the filters. So all I can do is pool, and then I have to look through the 300 options to see which one is indoor, right? That's a horrible booking experience. So I really think it's exciting that we will be able to give consumers a natural conversation that feels like you're talking to a real person. And for us, our mission as a company is to make it truly consultative. So if you say, look, my kids are 13 and 14, we're thinking about going to this hotel, that the agent will come back and say, no, if your kids are 13 and 14, you don't want that hotel. Is because if you read the reviews, this is a party hotel and people 18 to 21 are drunk in the lobby. I don't know, whatever.
Because time is passing by, and it's really interesting conversation with you. Can you share 1 or 2 practical examples where AI has made a real difference in revenue, conversions, or profit for hotels or restaurants?
Again, I think it's early. Look, I think today what hotels should be doing is preparing for what's to come. I truly believe that implementing the right AI solutions onto a website can, or even an app, can significantly increase conversions, but that we have yet to prove that. So I think I've heard stories about hotels using AI internally very successfully to handle operational questions from customers who need something sent to the room, or they have questions about the hotel while they're on property. I think these are being done quite successfully. I also think AI is being used internally to, from an analytics perspective, right? This is something that the industry has struggled with for quite a while, which is like, how do you truly understand what's happening when somebody's on your website? There's a really good company called Content Square. They just acquired an AI company, and what they can do is explain to you exactly the challenges people are having on your website. What are they looking for that they're not finding? How do you help them get to the conversion faster? And even if it's a chat, they can provide you with analytics on how well it's working, are people finding what they're looking for, and things like that. So so these are the examples that I know of in the industry so far of what I've heard hotels are implementing successfully and seeing good results. But I really think we're just at the tip of the iceberg of what's to come.
Yeah, of course. Actually, I can confirm this, not in hoteling industry and hospitality, but I'm also cooperating as a consultant with other travel tech companies. And actually, we have conducted some campaigns recently, really recently, last month. And their solution, for example, one of those companies is really improving website conversions for travel brands. I mean, like within 2 weeks after implementing. So we are already there. So of course, we need time. So where does your company, Hyperfunnel, fit into this picture? And what specific problems are you solving for hotels?
It's interesting. We started the company specifically trying to figure out how to help hotels capture direct reservations in ChatGPT. And we're still very interested in that, but we realized months ago that it's not very clear and it's going to be a while before it's clear. So what do we do to prepare for that? Well, okay, we think it's going to be a voice conversation. We think it should be consultative. Great. Let's build a voice agent that's consultative, that tells you, I think when you lost your connection earlier, I was saying that the idea is that if somebody says, my kids are 13 and 14 and I want to stay at that hotel, that the agent actually comes back and says, no, if your kids are 13 and 14, that's not the right hotel. Because according to all the reviews I've read, this is a hotel for 20, 25-year-olds that want to drink in the lobby. If you really want a good hotel, the one next door is the best one, right? So it's really giving you advice, again, kind of like a travel advisor. Now, what that has done is it's opened up all kinds of possibilities for us, because as we're going out and showing people the technology we've built, we're getting requests from all kinds of companies to implement that technology onto their websites, onto their apps. So this is what we are doing now. We'll have a lot more to share, I think, in Q1 about some of the partnerships we're developing. But, one thing that's really important is that as we started to build this voice conversational component, we realized, getting back to your earlier question, that today's kind of static websites and booking engines, the way they're built today, won't really work. Like, you can't show that in the background while you're having a conversation. It has to be something much more fluid, right? So we've also built a complete visual component behind the voice agent so that it changes as you speak with it. So yeah, we'll talk much more about that, I think, in the coming months as we start revealing some of these amazing partnerships that we're building. But that's in a nutshell what we're working on.
Excellent. Unfortunately, time is passing by. Let's continue with this type of questions. If you were leading distribution for a hotel group today, what would be your top 3 priorities in next 12 months, let's say?
Number one, I would take a very hard look at all of the data that I have, for example, in my website or online, and I would start making sure that it is structured in the right way so that it can be picked up by the chat GPTs and the LLMs of the world, because I think that's going to be critical. Now, related to that, I would start asking myself, what other questions could I answer? What other content do I have, even if it's not online? Do I have, I don't know, maps of the hotel or blueprints of the rooms, or what are all the things, the data points, even if it's an offline document, that I could use to make a database of, a smart database. So here's why I'm saying this, because we talked about frequently asked questions earlier. And we talked about how, well, that doesn't answer everybody's question. And a lot of people go with a question and they don't find it there. But now with AI, you should be able to answer every question, right? So if somebody is looking at a resort and they're interested in booking and they say, hey, which is the room that's equal distance between the beach and the restaurant? Well, you probably couldn't get that from a website today, but AI should be able to answer that. So if you were to upload the blueprints of the resort, then AI would be able to analyze that and say, oh, these are the rooms, or this is the building you want, if that's what you're looking for, right? So I feel like we need to shift our mindset a little bit. You would never think about uploading all that data to a website. You certainly should think about making that available to an AI engine so that you can answer every question possible, because the companies that are good at answering those questions will get the bookings in the future. Now, the third thing, which I would recommend, is, again, I believe we're moving toward an age of hyper-personalization. This is really good news for the hotel industry, because, it used to be, if I'm selling at $200 a night on Expedia and I sell at $190 on my website because I want to attract direct bookings, my phone would ring and I would get an angry phone call from Expedia. Hey, if you don't give me that $190, I'm going to throw you to page 8. Nobody will ever find you. But AI is changing all of that, because if I have my personal trained chat GPT and that GPT knows a lot about me, and if I as a hotel, I have a way to learn more about who this customer is or what their profile is, well, I need to be able to send that customer a personalized offer, right? So we need to think about that. I mean, you probably don't want to have 500 different rates out there or offers out there, but you probably want to change the mindset and start thinking, okay, well, what are the types of personas or profiles that I want to attract to my hotel? And what are the offers that I want to have out there for each of those? Because again, I believe what's going to happen is, and I can't explain to you technologically the plumbing of how this is going to happen, but I feel quite confident that we as an industry will have an opportunity to say, customers who look like this, I want this to be the offer. Let's say this is a Premier 1K on United Airlines customer. Well, they're probably a frequent traveler. I'm a hotel in New York. This person's never stayed with me before. Give them the suite. I just want to wow them, right? Because I want them every time they're coming to New York that they choose my hotel. Good luck doing that today with the technology that we have through an OTA or through your own website. But I'm telling you, AI is going to change all of that. So those are the three things I would say hotels should keep in mind.
Excellent. We have some comments from, for example, Mr. Advani said, Ashwin is a true legend in this space. And also another Ashwin, new legend. And also another user, which is not displayed here, says that Guillermo Gonzalez Albizuri, you and Ashwin Kamlani should meet.
I'm happy to meet anybody.
Yeah, of course. What would you say, what are the most common mistakes you see when hotels and travel tech teams try to add AI to what they are already doing? Just adding on top.
Yeah, look, I haven't really seen an example yet of it kind of done badly. And I would say the thing that's being done badly is that people aren't testing enough or not experimenting enough. So yeah, I don't know if I have a good answer for you for that question, but it's like I think people should start experimenting in a sandbox and testing it, making sure that they're providing the best customer experience possible. I don't, unfortunately, I don't have an example of something that's been implemented badly to date.
Okay. This is also my favorite because I'm always looking to small entrepreneurs, not big guys, etc. For smaller hotel brands and regional players with limited budgets, what is a realistic first step to start using AI in distribution?
Well, look, the nice thing about AI is that it significantly reduces the cost of development. And there are also tools out there now that can teach you very easily how to start creating things with AI. So there's a group called N8N, which, to be honest, even for me is a little technical, but there are programs out there that can help you learn how to navigate those solutions and easily develop AI apps. So I think it's in everyone's best interest to start playing around with these tools, learning how to use them to develop things. And nobody knows your business better than you do. So everyone has to remember that. There are companies out there selling solutions, but they don't know your specific hotel, right? So in fact, I had a meeting this morning with an individual hotel who happens to be in Ibiza, not too far from Barcelona. And we were talking about this, like they have a very unique seasonality. People, in the summer they're slammed. And so we were talking about different ways that AI could be used. And I think that that's my advice. I think anyone at any level of any hotel has access to these tools today. They should learn how to play around with them and start building things on their own. Even if they have a low budget, that's no longer a barrier to entry to create something interesting in AI.
Okay.
By the way, Ivan, I realized that I do have an example of AI done badly, but it was in the restaurant space. So there are plenty of stories of restaurants that early on hired, for example, a voice AI company to answer the phone, and consumers hated it. It was just like, they didn't feel like they were getting the responses they needed. It wasn't specific enough. They had a special request, and they weren't happy if they weren't speaking to a person. They didn't feel like they could trust it was going to happen. And there are restaurants that have eliminated that technology. But this was 2 years ago, and that technology has come quite a long way. So I guess it has been done badly.
Yeah. A couple of questions more and we will wrap it up. How should, on the other side, travel tech vendors rethink their products and positioning in this new AI-driven landscape, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think this is a very interesting topic. We could probably talk about this for a long time. So,
We don't have time now, but
no, I
maybe
know,
next time.
I know. Look, I'll just tell you in my own shoes, right? I
Yeah,
need
for
to
sure.
make
That's why I'm
sure, I
asking.
need to make sure that what I'm building and what I'm providing has something unique that only we can provide. I mean, I just gave everybody the advice to go play with N8N and start learning how to code or build, let's say, AI apps on their own. So as a company, you have to be careful that you're not building something that's easily now replicable in 2 days by somebody else, or even the hotels themselves, or maybe not even hotels, in any business, right? So companies are recognizing early on that AI is going to be powerful and that it's going to change things drastically. And I do see some companies investing the time and energy and resources to figure out internally what they can do. So that means that there are going to be companies, that startups that create technologies and go knock on the doors of companies to sell it, and the company's going to say, yeah, it's all right, we already did that, or we're already working on something similar. So in a way, it's nice because it's kind of the democratization of innovation and technology. So to answer your question specifically, I think vendors need to make sure that what they're building truly adds value, that it's something unique that can't be easily replicated, and that they're charging a fair price for it. I mean, in a way, those are the same things that I would have said to you 10 years ago, but I think AI makes it even more important now.
Absolutely. And from your perspective, what needs to shift first inside organizations? This is also my favorite with my clients and also with some tech vendors. Technology, especially travel and business, moreover. So inside organizations, what to shift first? Technology, data, or leadership mindset?
100% leadership mindset.
We agree
Because
on
you can
this.
have the best technology and you can have the best data, but the wrong leadership mindset makes it completely useless, right? So look, this is going to be a bit harsh, what I'm going to say, but I feel we're entering a phase of business now where if people are becoming blockers to innovation, they have to go. They have to go, because somebody like that in a leadership position then stifles everybody below them. And AI is something that everybody's experimenting with, and they're using it in their personal lives. And there are probably so many cool ideas at every level of the organization. And if you still have this kind of traditional mentality where everything is top down, and somebody at the top is afraid that if we make that innovation, then it threatens their job, or that it's too risky to experiment with things, those people have to go, because otherwise your competitors will outrun you 10 times and it'll be way too late to try to catch up. You have to be ahead of this early on, and you have to have a team of people that have the courage to experiment and recognize good opportunities and implement them quickly.
I usually say, as a speaker, also when I'm invited, and also to my clients, or when I'm speaking to people, especially in travel, implementing AI should be in both ways, bottom up and top to bottom, right? In the same way. Sorry, in the same time, so to say.
Right.
Everybody should be implementing and educating before
I
that.
would even create an incentive system, like a reward system for people at any level of the organization who can come up with some kind of AI solution that helps propel the business forward. I mean, it could be quite amazing what comes out of even entry level or operational staff in the hotel. I think that could be very interesting.
Absolutely. We have to recap, and I will do it, and hopefully you will confirm it. So after this session, I would say first, AI is not just about optimizing existing distribution channels. It is opening up entirely new ways for guests to search, book, and interact with hotels, especially through voice and agentic systems. Second, traditional sales and booking processes are under real pressure. The organizations that win will be the ones that treat AI as a serious operational shift, not a small add-on or side project. And third, you don't have to do everything at once. Start with a clear problem to solve, a simple use case, and a realistic time frame. The next, let's say, 12 to 24 months, if you like, are about testing, learning, and building the foundation. Am I right?
That all sounds good.
Great. So, Ashwin, thank you for sharing your precious knowledge and experience and perspective. It was really, really valuable. So hopefully also for the audience. And before we close up, where is the best place for people to follow up your work and stay updated on what you are building?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn once in a while. So anyone who wants to follow me on LinkedIn or connect with me on LinkedIn, that would be great. Otherwise, you can check out our website at hyperfunnel.ai.
Excellent. Everyone, you should follow Ashwin. I highly suggest. He is the best expert in this field. And of course, if you want to go deeper, you can connect with him. The replay will stay here on LinkedIn. I will also share it to my AI Tourism Innovator newsletter and digest, and also on my YouTube channel and on my LinkedIn profile, of course. This is also our final AI Tourism Talk episode before the holiday season, and we'll take a short break. And the next episode will be in January 2026 with new guests and new topics connecting travel tech and tourism as usual. So thank you very, very much, all of you joining us live or watching the replay. And thank you, Ashwin, once again for your time and for your expertise.
Thank you for having me.
Take care and see you in the new year. Wishing you all the best.
Same. Thanks.